the successful efforts of a combination of forces that ultimately took on ISIS, removed them from their headquarters of their caliphate, caused them to disperse if they were not eliminated at the time. A lot of that being led with Kurdish fighters that were fighting alongside the United States Special Operations Advisors, all of which has led, even though complicated because of the Russians being there, the Turks having an interest, and Assad trying to hang on to power. Nevertheless, the United States has been successful in not eliminating, but lessening the influence of ISIS. And then came the shocker of the president announcing unilaterally that all of a sudden he is going to pull the special operations troops as advisors out of Syria. This would likely cause immediate instability. It would certainly allow ISIS to reconstruct themselves, and it would cause chaos with the Kurdish troops that fought alongside the Americans, with the Turkish government going after a number of them. This is an ill-advised, probably a non-advised decision by the president, and it should be reversed. And this senator wants to call on all the national defense, national security, and national intelligence professionals that are within the administration to get the president to reverse this unilateral decision that he made. Otherwise, the United States interests are going to be ill-served. Madam President, my concluding remarks are about an early Christmas present that I received this past Monday at a staff going away party that occurred in Florida, with all of our Florida staff coming together to wish each other well. Little did I know that a special guest was going to appear, none other than one of the chefs of the catering company that was catering this holiday going away party.
No.
And let me tell you the story of this 34-year-old chef and what happened 34 years ago. At this time, middle 1980s, 1985 to be exact, this senator was a young congressman, and a couple of a husband and wife, constituents of mine in East Central Florida, came to me in great distress because their infant boy had been born and he had a defective liver. And the advance of medicine at that particular time was there was no known cure except to do a liver transplant. 34 years ago, organ transplants were still just in their beginning infancy. And 34 years ago, there was no organ registry maintained in order to try to find families who had lost a loved one, that loved one's organs could be harvested and then be available for those that were on a registry waiting for that. None of that existed 34 years ago. Only since have we seen this miraculous organization set up whereby people that need an organ transplant can get on the list. And then whenever one becomes available, no matter where it is in the country, that match, that organ can be flown, immediately packed in ice to the receiving hospital where the organ transplant is going to occur. None of this existed. It was a catch as catch can in finding an organ to transplant. This was especially true with a liver transplant, because a liver transplant at the time had to have the identical blood type match, and it had to be the identical size of the recipient's liver. And here is a few months old child desperately clinging to life that needs a liver transplant to survive. At the time, we were in session, and there was a particularly major bill that was up, that its passage in the House of Representatives was in the balance, just within a handful of votes. It was proposed by President Reagan. I had already decided that I was going to vote for the bill in favor of the president's position. But I saw an opportunity maybe to save this child's life. And so I held out and declared my position was undecided, knowing that the votes were coming down to just 1 or 2 votes in the passage. We must have been out for the weekend before this vote.